Located in the southeastern region of Worcester County, Massachusetts, lays the quiet town of Hopedale. Once a great milestone for capitalism and industry, Hopedale is now full of beautiful scenery, a wonderful community, and an old abandoned building located directly in the center of town. The history of this town cannot be explained without telling the tale of the company that carried it through the Industrial Revolution. The story begins in 1842, when Aidan Ballou settled in the town of Mendon, Massachusetts, with the idea of starting a socialist utopian commune.
Aidan Ballou was a man who was born in 1803 in Cumberland, Rhode Island. He had a brother by the name of Cyrus, who he'd been very close to, and Cyrus had died quite young. When Aidan was about 17, 18 years old, in bed one night, he had a vision of Cyrus telling him he must go and preach the gospel of Jesus, or their blood would be on his hands. Then in the 20s, he became the minister in the Unitarian Church in Mendon. This was a time of all kinds of reform movements, abolitionism being the big one. But by about 1840, he and the people that he was involved in felt that they needed to form their own community somewhere where they could live out their ideals, but eventually found an old, pretty much abandoned farm in Hopedale, referred to as the Old House, because even in 1842, this house was 150 years old then. So there began the Hopedale community.
They were one of, I believe, 3 utopian community experiments at the time, and they were the longest lasting. They lasted 15 years. Over time, more homes were built, but initially they did live, 44 of them, including children, in the Old House.
Among the settlers of Ballou's community were George and Ebenezer Draper.
Well, the Drapers were both heavily involved in the utopian commune. George and Ebenezer were both members. One of them started later, and I believe it was George who started just a few years before the commune was dissolved. They had both become significant shareholders in the commune, and because of that, together they owned about 3/4 of the stock in the commune.
The Draper brothers helped the commune by providing money for the community to survive with. The money was generated from a business they had started when they moved to Hopedale.
They were the two who really brought the company to fruition eventually. This Little Red Shop was built in 1841, at the time when the community was founded, and they built loom parts here. It was built by Ebenezer Draper. The production that was going on here at the Little Red Shop of loom parts was largely financing the community.
While they both adhered to the principles subscribed to by Aidan Ballou and his followers, they also had a mindset of, wanting to make money, and I think that they started to see that the utopian experiment wasn't really going to work out.
Their profits from this this thing called a temple, were basically supporting the whole community. It was the most successful product in the community. So they decided that they would withdraw their investment to start making this money on their own and not supporting this whole utopian commune.
The Drapers found success in manufacturing the temple, a piece of the loom which they had a patent for. The temple changed the textile industry forever.
They had inherited the patent, evidently, to an invention of their father, Ira Draper. In 1816, Ira had come up with a part of a loom that helped to speed up the weaving of it considerably.
The temple is actually a device that's used to help stretch the cloth, or whatever is being woven on the loom, and it keeps it to the correct width.
It didn't take long for the Drapers to greatly expand their business.
So they went from creating one element of a loom to determining that they could actually do the whole thing themselves. And in doing so, they were able to become the largest manufacturer of textile looms in the world by 1900. They did everything from assembling the machines here to shipping them from here. They produced the looms that fueled the textile industry, which was one of the staples in New England and eventually all up and down the East Coast. Then they began to ship their looms around the world.
They made everything from the beginning to the end. They could make a screw, they could make a casting, anything that was associated with the loom they could make in-house. So they didn't outsource anything at that time.
The Draper Corporation was unlike many of the other companies in the area because they were looking for specific types of skilled laborers.
They needed machinists and they needed engineers, and this was a machine shop. They were building something here. It wasn't just milling flour or or just even a textile mill where they're just creating one product. This was a real significant operation. They really care about their workers. They provide beautiful housing. They wanted to have a place where people would want to come to live.
The rent was nominal to the employees, and they would come in and help to maintain the home. They would replace the light bulbs, they would come in and paint or repaper 1 or 2 rooms a year. So they not only encouraged pride and upkeep of the homes, they helped. Essentially, they ran Hopedale for about 100 years.
After over 100 years of operation, the Draper Corporation was bought by North American Rockwell. The company managed to stay in business for just a few more years before finally having to close its doors.
The downturn actually happened before Rockwell. Throughout the years, Draper's was known for their quality, their service, their research, not necessarily price. And in the 50s, there were other countries producing looms.
The textile industry everywhere, a lot of it started being farmed out, either first down south, then overseas. And also, I don't think that they kept up with the technology as they had earlier on, where they were more the innovators.
The Swiss were a major part of the decline because they were able to make a better loom, a much quieter loom, which OSHA wanted us to do, as their noise regulations were being implemented.
My understanding is that because they controlled so much, that it was very difficult for folks when Draper left, because politically, I mean, they were not here anymore. Financially, you have empty buildings no longer generating